When you retire, you may get a chance to go to football heaven. This is football heaven.
Hey guys, welcome to The Mission. I'm your host, Jameer Howerton. And once again, just so honored to be joined by you guys. And as always, we have a great show for you. Today, I am reporting inside the rare book room of the RPC, where the hall houses over 40 million documents and 6 million photos. And today, we get a chance to catch up with Super Bowl 37 champion, and he's a second-year finalist for this year's 2022 class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But this is a great thing. He knows all the lyrics to Hamilton. Welcome to The Mission, Ronde Barber. Ronde, how you doing?
How are you, Jameer? That's over the weekend, we were having a Hamilton sing-off. That's part of the reason my throat is a little sore.
Tell you something, I watch Hamilton at least once a month, and I don't know about your jam, but my jam is I'm looking for a minor. That is, so you know all the lyrics?
I know all the lyrics, start to finish. It was one of those things when it came out, my daughters had it on repeat for a year. So whenever we got in the car, we were singing it, and you can't help but know it, you know?
Can't help but know it. And every time I watch it, I pick up something new. And I mean, the guy's genius to write everything. Like when I first saw it, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Everything is like lyrical, like it's all like hip hop. Yeah. Like, oh wow, this is great. It's great.
Yeah, it's beautifully done, man. You know, Lin-Manuel, yeah, he's one of the guys in the world that I'd love to meet someday. You know,
actually, you never met him.
But one of these days, it's there's so many good tracks on that deal, and they're all meaningful, right? Some of them have relevance, you know, in 2022, right?
Yeah,
You know, I love "Wait for It" in the middle of that song. It's in the middle of that album, that first track. It's pretty good.
It is. Well, sir, congratulations once again of being named to the finalists for this year's class. I have to ask you, you know, when you receive the text, when you receive the phone calls, what does it mean to be a part of this year's finalist class for the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Well, I think you know, Jameer, just you know, to be recognized amongst your peers as you know, one of the guys that could get a gold jacket, it's pretty exciting. You know, having been a semifinalist for 5 years in a row, all years of my eligibility. You know, being able to take a next step always feels good. You feel like you're that one step closer. I know this can sometimes be a process, which sucks, to be honest with you, but it kind of is what it is. But I know this is a very exclusive hall. You know, there's very few people. You consider the number of guys that have played this game, that play it every year. And to be at this stage of end of career recognition, I mean, I'm still pretty honored and humbled by that. So I'll take it when it comes. Hopefully, it's this year. But I love being part of this conversation.
Well, we thank you for allowing you to give us our time, because we know it's a process, and you know, being blessed to work for two historical franchises, the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns, and you're in that locker room and growing up in the equipment room, and then making my transition to player development, then making my transition as a sideline reporter. You're a part of a team, and I see you guys are working hard and ultra competitive guys, alpha males. So yeah, I thank you. We thank you here at the Hall of Fame. And you know, one of your colleagues, Pro Football Hall of Famer John Lynch, gave you a great shout out during his ring ceremony this year, and you were in the suite. What did it mean to you to hear him say, like, hey, there's a guy, you know, up there in the suite, and your time is coming?
Yeah, John is he's a great friend. He was one of my favorite teammates. And we obviously shared a room in a meeting room or whatnot, but we became great off the field as well. And you know, my career somewhat mirrored John's career in Tampa, so I think he appreciates what I had to go through to even become first of all a starter, and then you know, have a long career, and then having accomplished a lot. You know, finally getting recognition at the end of my career. And then to go through this process. I mean, if there's one thing that John has taught me, and really learned just from watching his experiences is that, patience is legitimately a virtue. And it's one that you have to approach what it is, because you can't be upset when you don't get into the Hall of Fame, right? It's one of those things where, you might have that initial sense of disappointment or even anger to some degree. But your time comes. If you're at this point, your time will come. And that's one of the things I think John understands, because he thinks I'm a Hall of Famer. We've had conversations about it. He understands what I did. He saw the work that I put in and day out. And he saw me turn into a guy that didn't play one game, only played one game his rookie year, to not missing a game for 15 years and becoming an All-Pro and a Pro Bowl player, a Super Bowl champion. He knows what the resume looks like and what my DNA is made out of. And it again humbles me, and it makes me proud that he thinks that I'm a Hall of Famer. So love John Lynch. He's the best guy in the world.
Well, Ronde, before we jump in and talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because the last time we caught up, Tom Brady actually had just signed to the Bucs, and we talked the what if scenario. But before we jump into that, hey man, what do you have going on? What are some of the things that you are currently working on that fans can get involved?
Well, the biggest thing really is this behind me. This I don't know if you see this flag, this Valspar Championship flag behind me. We're run by, our tournament is run by a 501c3 called Copperhead Charities. Well, this year I assumed general chairmanship of Copperhead Charities. So I'm helping put on, a great event in the Bay Area. And that's really taking up a lot of my time, but it's a good thing. We give around $2 million+ to charity every year. Our tournament has a $13 to $14 million economic impact, to our area. And that's really what I'm involved in. It's a labor of love, but it's a very rewarding labor too, because we get to host an event. We get to have the greatest golfers in the world come play one of our courses in the area, and then all of our charity dollars go to local organizations. It's been a pretty fun ride there. So that's what I'm doing. Other than going to see my daughters at school, I'm an empty nester now, so I'm spending a lot of time traveling to see them. But the life is pretty streamlined right now. It's fun.
Now, I understand your two daughters. One's at University of Chicago, and then the other one's at William and Mary. Lacrosse players.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
The youngest one's a lacrosse player. And her freshman season starts in the spring, in late February. So I'll be excited to see her evolution, right? From high school player, All-American to college, to see how you can do. But we're definitely excited, proud of them. We love both of our girls. They're thriving so far. So can't wait to continue to watch that.
Now, how is that, Ronde? Are you kind of a hands-off coach, or are you on the sideline? Oh, okay.
Hands off.
If
I get involved, I can imagine she would hate me. I obviously, my youngest, my athlete of the two, she's very similar to me, has very similar demeanor. She can be aggressive, which I like, but she's a very cerebral, smart player. So I just kind of follow and appreciate, and it's her thing, right? It's not my thing. So not our thing. Me and Claudia, it's not our thing. It's her thing. And it's nice now to watch as my mom watched me, and get that sense of really pride, to watch her succeed. So I can't wait for it. She got 4 years of college to do it, and after that, she'll be on to something else, but these next 4 years are going to be a good ride.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Ronde, the NFL just completed a 17-game season. What are your thoughts on how they were able to get a lot of work accomplished on the field?
Yeah, and an 18-week schedule, 17 games in there for all these teams. It was pretty impressive. Obviously, there were some hiccups towards the end of the year. As the newest variant started to take over the world, but it was very impressive. I was I was going into our facility every week because I've been a tiered level employee, just because I do some some digital stuff with the Bucks every week after their games. So, but to watch the process and the players follow the protocols and the testing, you can tell that they're serious, right? I remember last year thinking, because it was such a big variable, the team that best managed was going to give themselves the best opportunity to win the Super Bowl. And last year, the Bucks did a great job of managing the COVID and the protocols, and they only got better doing it this year. Some of it was unavoidable because you're going to see family, you're going to see friends. The restrictions were eased a little bit across the country. But it had to be tough. I can't imagine living in times that these players have to go through. I mean, not only in this sport, but other sports. I think everybody made the right decisions. I think we followed it the correct way. Even though the impact felt large, felt like a lot of guys were getting COVID, especially the last month of the season. Being able to manage it at the end, I thought was done really well. When all the games got done, it could not have been easy.
Well, Ronde, I'm surrounded by greatness. Right above me, right here, is Tom Brady's draft card. We had lost a great giant last year. I know I can't wait to hear some of the stories you have of him. But right above me are the 1925 Chicago Bears photo. But going back to this draft card right here, Tom Brady, how impressed have you been with him as he led your Buccaneers to the Super Bowl and now another playoff run coming up?
He's the league MVP, if you ask me. I mean, I may be somewhat biased because I get to watch all of it every single week. But the guy that leads the league in passing yardage and touchdowns at age 44. This is an offense that, they throw the ball far more frequently than any team in the league, and they do it because they can. It's not as if everybody says, "Oh, they should be more balanced and run the football." Well, they have a guy that can manage throwing the ball 40 times a game at 44 years old. It's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable what he's able to do, and it's been nice to see him deal with some adversity as well. We've lost a bunch of receivers this year for a multitude of different reasons, injury and whatnot, but he has remained steady and steadfast, and really, as the playoffs have come near, his greatness has even accelerated more. And so I'm just always impressed with what he's been able to do. It's a team that's really led by his greatness, and to me that screams most valuable player.
Another veteran quarterback on the other side of the ball where the Tampa Bays will face in Matt Stafford. He's surrounded by some weapons. Todd Bowles' defense being challenged this coming week. What are your thoughts on that being a general in that backfield as you once were?
Yeah, Matthew Stafford is remarkable as well. I mean, you watched that game last week and you said, man, that's his first playoff win. This guy's got a billion yards. It seems like he's thrown. Well, there's another stat that I should have, I guess, assumed. The two biggest receiving yardage seasons in NFL history, Calvin Johnson and Cooper Kupp, were both quarterbacked by Matthew Stafford. So it shows how phenomenal of a football player he continues to be in his new home. And look, I remember thinking at the beginning of the year, if any team was going to challenge, obviously Green Bay is in this conversation too, but if any team was going to challenge the Bucks this year, it was going to be the Rams. And the way the season started, I assumed that the Bucks would be in LA at some point in a playoff game. Well, as circumstances worked out, it flip-flopped. Bucks win at the end of the season, become the number 2 seed. And now the Rams have to come here. This is going to be a great game. Todd Bowles' defense last year, at the end of the season, was probably playing better than any defense in the league, and it helped propel them to a Super Bowl. It really did. Their last 6 games, I'd say, everything worked perfectly on defense, and then accumulated in the Super Bowl where they dominated the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, that defense hasn't been the same this year, but towards the end of the season, they've gotten healthy. Shaq Barrett's coming back. came back last week. JPP came back last week. Levante David came back last week. All those guys were hurt through the run-in. They haven't really had a consistent secondary in terms of players' availability. That seemed to solidify itself a little bit last week too. And that's the challenge. That's where the game's going to be decided. Your ability to stop the best receiver in football this year, Cooper Kupp, and get to Matthew Stafford and hopefully make them make mistakes. And then they have a chance because I tell you, Odell Beckham this year, is Odell done? I was asking those questions when he was in Cleveland. And now that he comes to the Rams and you see what how his production started to tick up, they're tough. And if they want to run the ball, they can. They showed that last week. I can't wait to watch this game. This is going to be the most exciting one of the weekend for me.
Absolutely. I mentioned earlier, last year, unfortunately, we lost a giant in the NFL, Pro Football Hall of Famer, head coach, John Madden. I can only imagine as I was walking in and I looked at John Lynch's locker, because we had lockers on display, and he had his all Madden, leather jacket. And, from talking to the guys, just learning how, being a Pro Bowler is one thing and it's okay. Being all pro, that's cool and all. Of course, ultimately we want to win a Super Bowl. But if you're not on the all Madden team, there's a problem. And it was just like, wow, I didn't know that. So learning, but I just would love to get your take, because, when I look back at, me and my colleague were talking about Super Bowl 37 defense. God, I mean, it's like, those were all Ironmen. Those were all, Madden guys. So talk about that.
Yeah. John Madden was a legend. One of the gentle giants of the NFL. Obviously I wasn't around when he was coaching. I wasn't privy to his genius as a coach, but I've obviously read up on him and understand who he is, and had the opportunity to play games that he called and meet with him. And he was one of those guys that you're truly overly impressed with when you meet him. His football knowledge, his understanding of the game, his ability to make it entertaining at the same time. Those things are bedrocks of how today's consumer enjoys football, pro football, and it's because of that man. I remember my fourth year or so working for Fox. I had an opportunity to go to lunch with him because my producer and director worked for him back in the day, and spending about 2.5, 3 hours with John Madden, talking ball, talking history of ball, talking the future of football, talking about his take and his opinions of how I played when I was playing. It was an indelible memory. I'll never forget it. You have great moments in life. That was probably one of my greatest moments, in football type moments, being able to spend time with the legend. So his passing was, it allows us to appreciate and respect how great he was at everything he did. And it's honored to have known him, to be honest.
Now, Ronde, I had to ask you, were you into video games? Did you really look at your ratings? Were you happy with your ratings? Did you take an issue with that? Or you were like, hey, it is what it is?
I think I was a little bit too old for the fanaticism of Madden. Nowadays these guys live and die by it, but I never really played. Played video games when I was little, but I was playing Techno Bowl. I was playing those games. Right. Yeah, that was my jam.
Yeah, that's our generation.
Yeah, right. That's us. Exactly. But the new Madden lore, the years in, years out, that hit right probably in the middle of my career, and I was never really into it. But I cared what my rating was. I know it got higher as I got older, so I appreciated it.
Guys, I'm so honored to be joined by the class of 2022 finalist, Mr. Ronde Barber. As we're on our path to Canton, Ohio, Ronde, let's have some fun, man. We always have our top 5 list. And before I let you go, man, I gotta get some top 5s out of you. I need to know your top 5 football moments.
Oh wow. Overall, I would say top five. Number one, oh yeah, I'll say number one. Number one, clearly, the interception in the NFC Championship game in 2002, Philly, and really because I had a great game that game too. I think I recorded a stat in every statistical category on defense: sack, fumble, tackle for loss, interception, touchdown. It was one of those epic type games, and in that play, made it my best moment. The next would be probably my first interception in college football. It was, because I was redshirted in 1993. My first year playing, I started my first game at Florida State, which was intimidating as heck. And I got an interception in that game. And in that season, that 94 season, I led the nation in interceptions. And so, I remember the first one. I remember the one that got me, on my roll. Next one, moment, probably my 20th sack, if I'm being, just selfish in these moments, because at that point, Mike Tomlin was my defensive back coach. He had come in the year prior and had challenged me to, hit that number. There's nobody that's your position that has 20 sacks. I was like, I didn't know that. I wasn't paying attention to that, Mike. And then in Carolina, I forget what year it was now, but in Carolina, I got the 20th sack, and it was a sense of accomplishment, and all my teammates celebrated it with me. So it was fantastic. For top five, four, top five, probably the next one would be starting my first game in 1998, because not playing the year before, and then I went into, I think it was a week 5 game. Who was it against? I can't remember who it was against. And the guy in front of me got hurt, and Herm Edwards came in and said, "Hey, Ronde, you're starting this week." And I'm like, okay. It may have been against Chicago, but either way, it was one of those moments. You're like, you're starter in the NFL, and that, those memories never fade, because look back at it now, it's one of those things that set you on your path, right? And then the fifth moment, probably getting drafted by Tampa, because that's got to be a top 5 moment. I was All-American in college, All ACC, all 3 years that I played. And you just never know. You just never know where you're going to be. And I remember my draft year, Tiki got drafted. My brother got drafted 30 picks ahead of me. He got drafted 6th pick of the 2nd round. And I was sitting there waiting. 30 picks is a long time. When your twins already off the board, it's a long time, Jameer. I was like, is this ever going to happen? And then Tony Dungy called me, said, "We're going to pick you with the 66th pick here. Are you ready to be a Buccaneer?" And, tears can't explain that, the happiness, right? So I'll never forget that moment. I got to celebrate it with my family and friends who were all there with us. And it's a football moment for sure.
Man, getting goosebumps thinking about that. Top 5 favorite players growing up.
Name me all five Redskin stars during the 80s. That's it. Riggins, Clark, Darryl Green. Yeah, all those guys. But honestly, I was a Redskins fan, so I knew all those guys. Walter Payton, everybody wanted to be Sweetness. He was just the guy. I mean, there was nothing about it. And interestingly, my top 5 list probably doesn't even have a quarterback on it growing up, because I was just never really infatuated with quarterbacks. I was infatuated with Darryl Green, was definitely top 5. Lawrence Taylor, definitely a top 5. He's just a dominating type of person. There was nobody better than him at what he did. Who else? Who we really liked, and people probably don't even like, really? Thurman Thomas. We really liked Thurman Thomas. He was just one of those guys. He was a guy that was gritty, grounded out, do the tough work, play in terrible conditions, and still dominate. And let's see. Well, I ended up playing against him at the end of my career. But Jerry Rice, he's a top fiver for me. I'm just outside of his peer group, so I was able to watch him growing up. But then getting to play against him at the very end of his career, the beginning of my career was pretty surreal.
Wow. All right. Rounding out the last top 5 list, I got to ask you about your toughest opponents.
Yeah. Toughest easily, because I played him so often, was through the middle of my career was Steve Smith. He was a pain in the butt, man. God, he was a guy that made us do things different on defense, because he was such a tough competitor. And if you got in one-on-one situations, they just stand up and throw him the football, and you're sitting out there one-on-one having to go make a tackle. He was tough. Randy Moss. Randy Moss's first game of his career was against Tampa. I wasn't starting that game, but he had a day, and we played him a number of times when we were still in the NFC North. Trying to deal with Randy Moss for 3 years in that division was not fun. Toughest competitors. Brett Favre, couldn't beat him. Couldn't beat him. It's plain and simple. The 1 or 2 times that we did, it felt like all accomplishments, because he was just that good. For me personally, one of my top 5 lists is Chris Carter. Chris Carter taught me trying to find ways to stop Chris Carter made me a better football player at the end of the day. He was a guy that I figured if I could find a way to play him in the slot and play him outside, that I was going to, everybody else kind of paled in comparison to him. And who else? Let me think. Another competitor. God, let me think. Blanking on a good one here. I'm trying to think of somebody good here, Jameer, because there was guys that I played week in and week out. Well, another one, and another receiver was Roddy White in Atlanta. I had battles with Roddy White, a lot of them, good and bad. I think we respect each other much better, more now than we did at the time. But he was a tough competitor, and he got really good when he had Michael Vick, and he got really, really good when he had Matt Ryan at quarterback. So I played him twice a year. So those were my biggest battles.
It's funny. I thought, and I know, cornerback and you're going against receivers, but you kind of tweener at times where you'll line up and come and lay some wood like a linebacker.
Yeah.
And I thought you were going to have your brother on that list. How challenging was that? Like when you did face your brother, to know that you're like, damn, I may have to lay. Come on, Tiki.
Individually, Tiki wasn't a tough challenge for me. As a team, yes. I remember in 2002, when we went to the Super Bowl, they were playing in San Francisco in the divisional round, and we were watching that game. I'm sorry, no, it was a wild card. It was a wild card game. They played in a wild card game. We were going to have to play them if they won in the divisional round. And we were trying to figure out, watching how we were going to deal with Tiki. That was when Tiki was hitting his stride. Like that was when he was good Tiki. And then they had Jeremy Shockey, they had Amani Toomer, they had some good players. And we're like, who's going to be able to match up with Tiki when they do all this empty backfield stuff? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to think about that until I have to. And thankfully we didn't. We ended up playing. San Francisco came back and beat them. We ended up playing San Francisco. But individually, I got the better of him. I won 3 of our 5 matchups. I think he won the last one. I think he'll claim that. But I won the majority of them. But it was, did I like it? No, not really. But I did appreciate getting ready to play him, because I was a guy in the room when Monty is talking about the Giants, listening to them give Tiki all his superlatives. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? You're looking at the scouting report, you're talking about how good your brother is. That was always pretty fun. But no, he wasn't a tough competitor for me.
Okay.
Gonzalez, having to cover Tony Gonzalez at times, that was tough. Being that versatile guy, and And Monty or Shiano at the end of my career was like, "Hey, you got to go. You have to match up on Tony Gonzalez in this one defense." I'm like, "Me? I'm 5'9.5".
While we're on the family ties, I have to ask you this because I read where Bruce Arians, head coach of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is like family to you.
Yeah.
And he actually roomed and he was teammate with your dad.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to understand that because I remember reading a story about Coach Arians. He was the first white player to room with a black player.
Yes.
That was your dad.
Yes, in Blacksburg, yeah. Now on the football team, there may have been others at the school, but on the football team, yes, they were the first. And growing up, we had just legendary stories told to us about Uncle Bruce. Like, it was Bruce Arians, right? But then, later in life, I reconnected with Bruce when he was on Tomlin's staff in Pittsburgh. And then we started telling stories about, my mom and dad and him and Chris back in Blacksburg, back in college. And it was really cool to hear some of those stories from a different perspective. And then obviously he's been like family the whole time. But ever since then, since we reconnected when I was an adult, I've learned to appreciate, what they went through and how they were as friends and teammates, and just all four of them throughout those years. And then him losing touch and me losing touch with my dad for a very long time. It was a different perspective. And I've always appreciated Bruce for being always candid about things. I mean, he's candid with everything, it's not like he minces words or holds back. But yeah, he gave me a lot of insight into understanding, my mom and dad's relationship back then. And so I've always appreciated him. I love him like he is family. I call him Unc still. He calls me nephew when I see him. It just is what it is. And it's very ironic and very kind of fortunate for me because it's given me a lot of access that he ended up in Tampa being a head coach.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I had a chance to work with him when he was when he was coaching at the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Back then, he used to wear the chocolate Kango cap, and I used to be like, "Yo, coach is real cool." And I really didn't know, his flavor and his rhythm and his. But he would come by me all the time. "What's up, little brother? How you doing, my man?" I'm like, "Yo, he sounds like my Uncle Willie."
That's his product. That's a product of where he grew up.
Right.
That's a product of where he grew up in Pennsylvania. It's not like he didn't grow up privileged. He grew up with some guys now.
Wow. Well, Ronde, I am so appreciative for you giving us time. And just lastly, before we let you go, man, if you are named to this year's class, just overall, what would that mean to you and your family? Yeah,
I mean, it's getting a yellow jacket, a gold jacket. It's an exclamation point. It's a final recognition and a belief that everything that you did is appreciated. I understand that guys wait a long time for it. John Lynch waited a long time. Roy Butler's waited a long time, right? He retired very beginning of my career. He's waited a long time. It's not the end all, obviously, because there's a lot of great players that will not get in, that probably deserve to get in. But if I do, it'll give me time to reflect and appreciate my journey. At the end of the day, that's all you got. I mean, we lived it. You always wish you could tack on more to your resume, but you can't. My resume was 1997 to 2012. I think it's a pretty dang good resume, and I hope that it's enough to get into the Hall of Fame. And when it is, I'll be able to look back at those 16 years and say, man, did I ever think I would be here? No, but here I am. So one of these days, hopefully it's this year, I'll get a chance to say that. Tampa Bay Buccaneers legend, Mr. Ronde Barber. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time for joining us right here on The Mission. Thank you, Jameer.